every once in a while, there's me, the undersheriff, and one sergeant, and we're all pretty tight, you know. I mean, we're with everybody. And those two, between the three of us, we all each other going with some of the things we get off of Facebook, you know.
Yeah.
And now they're in the middle of it, and you know why?
Here we go.
Because they know I'm doing something, so they're gonna try to bust my chops right now. And be, you know,
They're gonna like text you and try to call you like a million times, bother you.
Absolutely.
So,
why wouldn't they? But
That's funny.
I'm literally just gonna start it rolling right here as we sit. And again, I have no trajectory, no path of this conversation. Just sit down and have a conversation with you, like I said. But you know, I obviously the last time I saw you was very different circumstances. You know, July 17th of this year. And for people that haven't seen this, we had a catastrophic, tragic loss of my 2 children and my ex-wife. Well, initially it was just my ex-wife and my son, which my daughter ended up getting airlifted, and she passed 3 weeks later. But I was honestly curious, as long as you're okay talking about it, like what you experienced that day, like, and I more importantly want to talk about like how that experience like that, man, you still have to go home after that, you know, and I could tell with like seconds of talking to you, especially today, even the past 10 minutes, like you're a genuine, humble guy and you care. And it's like, I remember that day. I remember bits and pieces. I remember the hug you gave me at the scene of the accident, man. And I'll never forget that. You know, it was real. And I appreciate you and your deputies and I feel horrible for you guys having to deal with stuff like that, because a lot of people don't think of that. They think law enforcement and they think all this negative crap in them, which, and I'm sure there is.
Or they think, oh, they're tough and stuff. They just go there, do their job, and that's it. Like there's no emotion. There's just nothing, and there is a lot of emotion.
Oh yeah. But it's what they don't see after the scene's over. Same thing for the family. You know, it's like people don't realize that. But you know, no, that definitely was a tough day. I remember being back at the office. And when I heard the first initial calls come in for it, I was like, well, we get things there, you know, not often, but often enough. That's another thing, you know, pardon my French, I'll say it pissed me off. That it takes an incident like this for the state to finally jump on board. That's a big problem with some of our bureaucracy and how we have to go through things to get that done. So, I mean, I'm going to jump around here. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, you're fine.
That's how we are too.
I'm sorry I go off with our state government, but I have to go there again because it's always something that has to be up there to get somebody's attention to finally say, you know, well, we got a problem. Well, so what we've been doing the last, 12 years telling you over other accidents that things are going on. Why did it take so long? Well, because you know what? Finally, when somebody has to actually show up at the scene, and it's not on a piece of paper, it's not a phone call to Albany or to wherever we have to get it done. That it's the impact. It's like we have to do something now. No kidding. You know. And that's where. Like you're saying, Matt, we gotta like take your anger or whatever we have. We gotta go. Okay, this isn't the place yet. You know. But anyhow, so I'm jumping around.
You're fine, man. And I can tell you a little bit of my perspective that you would never know. You know, I was sitting at work when I got the phone call, and my 12-year-old called me, and I had no idea. I had no idea what he was talking about. He was like, "There's a bad accident. It's so bad," and he was telling me, he's like, they can't get mom out of the car. And at this point, like, I'm trying to calm him down. And I was able to significantly calm him down. He was so mature especially for his age. And, you know, I was an hour and 15 minutes away. And so I get him to take some deep breaths and to tell me what's going on. And he's like, yeah, they can't get mom. She got hit by a car. I'm like, okay, so I'm getting in my vehicle and stuff. And I call her, put her on speakerphone. I set that phone down. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This is bad. I'll let you listen, but just please don't talk. So I could, be on the phone to my son with my work phone. And I started flying down the road, and I've talked about this before. I realized how ineffective it is to turn on your four ways and try to beat people out of the way. Because I was going through coming up to Lewis Point. And I went to pass some guy, and they just would not move out of the way. And I passed him, and I almost got a head-on collision on route to the accident. And but while I was en route there is when I got text messages. My phone started vibrating like crazy. And I got like the notifications from my daughter's cell phone that there was a car accident, like the automated emergency notification. And I'm like, what's going on? And then Bradley tells me, Kylie and Tyler were in the car. And that's when my heart sunk, and I'm thinking, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And at some point, he told me, he's like, Dad, there's a helicopter landing. And then I'm like, okay, there's something serious here. And is all, you know, skip some other stuff, but I remember getting up to the scene, and one of the most crazy things that I remember, and I may be remembering this wrong, so I want you to correct me. I just remember after walking up, I parked like 100 yards away or so, and I like jogged up to the where the vehicles were and where Bradley was, because that's all I wanted to do was get to my son.
Yep.
And I remember somebody told me that Natasha and Tyler didn't make it, and then all of a sudden, like as I grabbed Bradley, I remember it just start raining out of nowhere, and it was like out of a movie. It was like the second I found out that I just lost my son, you know, my daughter's questionable, and man, I remember seeing one officer's face, and he looked so bummed out, which I've since talked to him on the phone. One of your investigators, I won't name his name, great guy, and really healing conversation for me to have with him. And yeah, and then leaving that scene of the accident after talking to you and stuff and going to the hospital, I just like, my son asked me a question. Well, he did two things. He grabbed my hand while we were leaving the scene. I could still see the lights behind me, and he's like, you know, we weren't crying. We had tears coming down our face, and like I was in shock. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Dad," he's like, he holds my hand. He's like, "We're gonna be happy again. I promise." And he would go a little bit farther. He's like, "Dad," he's like, is this something that would cause people to hate Jesus? Because, you know, we'd start going to church like 2 years prior to this. And I'm like, it very well could. And he's like, I don't. He's like, he said, I love him more is what he said, not really understanding his choice of words right then and there. But
his heart now.
And you know,
obviously instilled the right words and the right teaching, you know,
Yeah.
to give him the opportunity,
Yeah.
and for him to make that on his own assumption, you know, from his heart, that says a
And
lot,
so
especially
quickly.
at that moment.
Right.
You know, that's
yeah.
wow.
And you know, and like I just again, yeah, I didn't know like when you got to the scene. You know, 'cause probably I know sometimes depends on where you are. Lewis County's a big county and stuff. But I didn't. I don't know. I did talk to the truck driver. We went to dinner with him a couple weeks ago. I think I told you. But
sorry.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I got there pretty much within probably the 15 minutes to 20 minutes right afterwards.
Yeah.
And like you said, I know watching everybody work together like they did, but watching my guys and you know, the fireman was something. And I didn't realize yet, you know, the severity until we started doing what we were doing. And then that's when you know, I mean, unfortunately, I've seen way too much of it. I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
And not that you're not callous to it. Those aren't the words I wanted. You're not callous. You become understanding to go. You know, there's a cause and an effect.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, there's nothing's going to change that at the moment. And you have you have you know, some things you have to do, and you have a scene that you have to take care of. You have people that are coming. You know, you have family members there, and you got to do it, you know, do it the right way, the best way. And but yeah, it's you know, like I said, my heart goes out to you. I mean, that's why, you know, I'm a parent too. I've got you know, my daughter's gonna be 20 here in a couple of weeks, and matter of fact, my daughter, you know, knew your daughter.
Yeah.
So went to school at Camden. So you know,
Okay.
and your son too. So
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
you know, when I got home, she said first thing she comes up to me with her cell phone. She goes, "Is this true?"
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, Nicolette, I got to tell
Wow.
you,
Yeah.
you know. And she goes, you know, Mr. Spouse, I said, yes, he was, and I talked to him, and you know, and you know, it's funny you say about a hug. So my daughter said the first thing, she goes, "Did you hug him?"
Oh.
Yeah.
I go, I did, honey, I did. And she's
Oh, my
like, "Good
gosh.
dad." You know, I was like, yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny, you know. She like your boy says to you, you know, my daughter asked me that, and I was like, wow, you
Right.
know. So it's just so that, you know, it's things like that. Those little things where with your son, my daughter, I say, you know what, amen. That's
Yeah.
there's your answer. You know, when you look
Yep.
at things and just say, the world's still a good place.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
is.
we know there's a lot of bad there, but the world's still a good place.
Yeah.
We always talk about that there are a lot of bad, scary people out there, but we like to think that there's way more good people that want to help and love each other than, you know, if it's social media or the news, at what it's trying to portray to scare the communities. You know, there's so many good people out there.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I, you know, heard the names and stuff, and it wasn't going. Your last name's ringing a bell.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going, where have I met you before? You know, I can't remember where it was, but something. And when you showed up, I'm like, oh yeah. I said I met him before, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be, you know.
Yeah.
But,
So when you get calls like that, do you automatically, like, do you know when you get there, like you specifically, like how bad it is, or do you go in thinking the worst, or are you pretty optimistic about
you know,
stuff?
you always try to be optimistic first. You do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
40, how many years was it exactly?
it was,
How many years you been in doing this?
oh, let me see. So I started in 1986.
Okay.
86 when I became a police officer.
Yeah.
And I retired once in 2006. That was my first 20 years. And I was back to work 4 months later for the sheriff's
Oh, wow,
office.
okay.
And now I'm going to have, I'll have 20 years with them plus. So, which I
Yeah.
never thought, but
No, it's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fortunate to be able to do that, I mean.
so far, I
Yeah,
got a lot of good
exactly.
people, and by the grace of God, I say
Yes.
that can do it.
Yes.
And I'm going to try again one more time here coming up.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my last run for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Back to you guys. Yeah, I'll just say a little bit more. And I know people are probably, as you were talking earlier, about saying like how strong we're this and that. No, I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking, I hope that you find your way. You find your way through it, and through our faith, we hopefully it will. And I know sometimes, I have family members, that things have happened in their life, and they're angry. And they don't want to hear me talk about God. They don't want to hear me talk about Christ. People get, they say, well, if that's true, then they would let them do this and do that.
Yeah.
And I say, no, if you really understood, and there's still more to understand and learn as we continue to grow older.
Yeah.
That's not the way you should think. That's not the way it is.
Right.
Yep.
I am not a theologian, as you said. They call it, right? College. I've tried to read the Bible and things like that, and done some of it, but not as much as I should, but enough that I can get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But plenty that my faith is firm in what I believe, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing that's the only thing that comforts you when
That's
Oh
like
my
us
gosh,
too.
man. Yeah.
Without it, I don't know where we would be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people that don't know, and I don't think I told you this, but leading up to it, it was like we were going through hell, and and I've said this, and people will look at it differently, but I don't really care. Like, I don't know what was more challenging. Like, navigating this was very painful, and it is very painful. But the last few years before that were equally as painful and difficult and challenging. Just navigating, family court and in the system. It's just, seeing how incredibly flawed things can be and are when there's so much that's so preventable right now, and it applies to everything, I believe. But we just settled out of court the end of May. Like,
Wow.
we after over 2 years of kicking the can down the road and nothing happening, and like we were doing good, we were amicable, and like my daughter had picked her up the Friday before that accident, and we went out to dinner and stuff. It was the first time in so long that I picked her up with my boys.
Oh, wow.
And which thank God I had that.
Yeah.
And then that Sunday morning, so my ex-wife, she went to the same church we went to for a little while, and we never really like sat together per se, but we were amicable. And as time went on, we were, sometimes like at the end of church and stuff, we would be talking and we'd be kind of mingling.
It was like the 3 months before the accident where things got just better, and it was
So much
getting better.
Yeah.
So it's weird to say the timing of the accident couldn't have been a better time, though, because if it happened through the other crappy times, I know that we would all feel different, like worse, and I know it probably sounds funny saying we'd feel worse, but it's the timing of everything.
Talk about Sunday, the Sunday before the accident.
Well, Natasha came into church, and Bradley wasn't with us this time, and normally he's always with us. I think he was at a friend's house or something, and it was Tyler, myself, and Matt, and Natasha came in and gave Tyler a hug, and she sat over here, like on the other side of the aisle. And Matt and I kind of looked at each other, and we're like, we should probably ask her to come sit with us. And that was like unheard of. If people knew how bad it was, us asking her to come sit with us is like huge. And it was the right thing to do. We felt like it was
even beyond that. It was so healing, I think, for all of us, her and us, because dude, the power of forgiveness. Yeah, like people, how much
they take it the wrong way when you say forgive people.
Yeah.
It's not what people think.
Yeah. But if you're able to do that, like, imagine if the world could learn from that right now. How much pain and suffering would go away right now, or like friendships or families that don't talk to each other if you just, hey, like life is short. It is so fragile.
Yeah.
It's going to be gone before you know it. Like
Yep.
we have this limited time on earth. Why not just forgive people, you know? And I know there's situations that you can't, but sorry, get caught on tangents. I could talk about this stuff forever, but
No, that's all right. I can just
Yeah.
talk about it. You need to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's all right. You know, it's good to things there.
yeah.
You know?
But
Go ahead. Not to take from like, you know, from what your incident happened. I already in my lifetime, I'm an old guy now. I'm 61. I'm thinking to myself, what did I turn 61? I don't feel like I'm 61. I mean, I think, you know, what anyhow. I already lost two younger brothers in my lifetime, and I'm like, you know, I remember the first one was my first brother was my second right behind me, and we were close. We were only a year and a couple days apart. That was it. And you know, that was something for me to go through and deal with. But I had time because he had a disease that took so long to take him.
Okay.
And when that time came, I was thankful, you know, actually to God to take him out of that suffering, you know.
Right.
But I missed him, and he was a young
course.
kid. He's only like 32, 33 years old.
Wow.
So you know, you're going through life for healing with that, and just I think it's gonna be 3 years now. My youngest brother, who was 42, getting ready to retire from the job. He had you know, about 9 months to go. Just got married, and had a little girl, my niece, and life was going really good. And you know, we used to hunt together and stuff. And I said, man, you're going to be coming up in retirement. He goes, I'm not going to retire. I'm not going to see it. And I just think to myself, what are you talking about? You know, you're strong as an ox.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, he was a competitive weightlifting guy too, and the police Olympics, a good shooter, all that kind of stuff. Another Army guy.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, I called him like on a Monday. We talk almost like every day, almost every day. And like he was a cop, he was a police officer too, and so we bounced a lot of things off each other. And it was good. And he goes, I got a headache. It's got a bad headache. I go, oh, you probably got, you know, maybe a flu or something like that. Tuesday came along, and yeah, I don't feel so hot. I've been feeling so good. He goes, mom's gonna take me, you know, to the doctor. I thought I don't want to go, but I'm gonna go anyhow. Yeah. And I sent him home and said he had like an earache infection or something like that. Next thing you know, the following morning I get a call, and my mother says, hey, they just took your little brother to the hospital, rushed him out of the house in an ambulance. I go, what? He's like, yes, he was, you know, I think he aspirated in his sleep. And I go, well, is he? He goes, yes, he's alive, and you know, he can this and that, but he's really weak. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's weird, you know. And 3 weeks later, done, gone.
Wow,
They
man.
never found out what it was. He went from, you know, from Albany Med down to Cedar Sinai in New York City. They tried the best they could, and I ended up succumbing to a heart attack at that age. And I was just like,
How old was he?
He was only 42.
Wow.
42.
I'm sorry.
You know, and like you said, go back to where I'm going with this. You know, people start getting, you know, did they get angry? Did they question? And I wasn't angry, but I was like, you know, damn, what happened? You just, you know, kind of want to know what happened. Yeah. And then you have to let it go. I had to let it go for a little bit. And then I was the one that had to go and tell my father, because my mother and him were apart. My dad was up at the farm, and that was the most difficult. You know, on the job, you know, you try to be, you know, you think it's a professional thing, but when you go and tell your own father, oh, that was probably one of a real tough heartbreaker moment. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, that's where you reach out, you know, to God and Christ, and you just, you know, you have to get your strength from there. And it's like you said, you know, people are gonna watch this and think, oh, here they are. I'll say, oh, the Jesus freaks. You know, there they go preaching. Yeah. No, hey, you can call us what you want, but you know, I say this at the same time. You know, look at us. People say, well, you have to be angry. You know, why aren't you mad?
Or how do they keep going?
Yeah. How do you keep going? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, because they expect you to keep going. Yeah. There's a reason why the Lord still kept you here.
Right.
Yeah. And we may not know that right away. Yeah. And if you don't, that's okay. So what? Don't beat yourself over it, but just keep going. You know. Yeah. Until that day comes when they open the book and say it's your time to go, and we'll find out afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll find out afterwards. Yeah. But it is our response. I say it's our responsibility to our faith to continue to you know to believe what we have and to carry that forward, and to tell those who don't believe, hey, you got a minute? You want to hear something? And they can either, when it's all said and done, walk away and go, well, they're nuts. Yeah. Or they call you up a few days later and go, hey, you're going to think I'm crazy. And the first thing out of our mouths are what? You're not. Yeah. Right? You're not crazy. I know what you're feeling. Right. You know?
And you know, it's funny too, even if you, you know, preach to them or talk to people that are not believers, even if they see what you've gone through and see how you're getting through things, you don't even have to really talk about that stuff to them personally. They see it, they're watching your journey, and they know what your beliefs are. And then maybe something will turn in their head and be like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, because what I'm doing is not working.
I
And-
never pushed religion on anyone my entire life. Never
Right.
really will. However, I will tell people it's worked for me. And I
Right.
remember when we started doing this, and I think it was our 18th episode where it was the first time I said, you know what, we said we weren't going to talk about religion. I'm like, however, I'm like, I will say it worked for me. And I did talk a little bit about that. And something you said made me think of Terry Tucker. He was a guy we did a remote podcast with. I hate remote podcasts for these kind of conversations. However, Terry Tucker, he was a hostage negotiator for the Cincinnati Police Department. He had many years in law enforcement, and he's got terminal cancer. And he's dedicated the last years of his life to just trying to spread the light, just be positive. And he said something that has echoed throughout my mind. And when you're talking about your brothers, you never know how many people are watching how you handle your adversity. And I think because people have seen us and they've seen me talk or her talk, and like they'll hear me talk about what I've lost to you, and they'll be like, is this guy, you know, does he realize he lost his kids? And like, I cry all the time. I cried yesterday on my way to work. You know what I mean?
All the
Like
time.
I love my kids, and I don't owe anybody the explanation. However,
no, you don't.
what good does that do? Just telling everybody on a regular basis how broken I am. You know, it's like, because it's like I deal with it everywhere I go for the most part. You know, I work for a large organization. Like everybody has this look, and they know what I lost. And, you know, and everybody looks at me different. Some people don't, like some people that would say hi don't say hi anymore. And it's just, it's weird, man. Like people don't think of that perspective. Like, what's it like being that person that went through a catastrophic tragedy? Because, you know, we've had a lot change since that happened. And, you know, some people some of my best friends just vanished out of my life. And you would think that would be the point in time where people would want to be there for you and stuff. But, you know, everybody handles things differently, and you know,
sometimes those people don't know what to say to you, so they do back up and kind of go in the shadows because they don't know what to say and they feel uncomfortable.
You know, the quote, I put this in our last, because we've only aired one podcast since the accident, which was November, Thanksgiving Eve, and a quote from, I don't know if you ever heard of the author Viktor Frankl, but he has a saying, everything can be taken away from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. And you hear that saying. Another quote is, you know, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. Pretty much the same thing. And I think being bitter, when you're given every reason to be bitter and you're not, that shows other people that go down a bad path, that say, well, X happened to me, my so-and-so left me or cheated on me, so or I went on deployment and I saw this, so this is why I drank myself into a coma. Like,
or treat people like crap,
or be bitter and just treat everybody like you're miserable. You know, I think it's a choice. And I think so much of what we do and how you treat other people, it's all a choice. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but
that's all right. No, I hear you. I can't, but my mind goes like,
me too. I know.
Like that. But so I just say to build off what you just said, you know, about being bitter and stuff. I am so tired today of hearing about these active shooters, and you know, you find out that they call this transgender stuff, or they've had this and that. I'm going, you know what? Bull. Sorry.
Right.
They know exactly what they're doing. When they go and commit that horrible situation. You could have taken that energy and gone to somebody and said, hey, you could have gotten help. And there are going to be people who say, oh, well, has the sheriff ever been through that? Has he ever? As a matter of fact, you know what? I can tell you that I know people. Yeah. And you know what? You go and you channel that, like you said, to your faith.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what most of those individuals lack that.
Yeah.
And it's not. It is so much easier to come to that faith than it is to fight it. And you know, there's going to be many unanswered things, but hey, don't worry about it. It'll come, you know.
Right. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Give it some time. Give yourself some grace and breathe, and
and that's why I get upset with these people. Like I you know, as of course being a believer, Christian person, we're supposed to forgive. Technically, we are.
Yeah.
And at first, when I first see these individuals, you know, my wife will tell me, or I'm sitting there mouthing off on the couch if they're watching, Newsmax or Fox or another channel watching,
Yep.
and I'm going, you see what I tell you? Look at that, that person. And she goes, oh, okay. She goes, Mr. Forgiveness. I go, I know. I said, I know. I go, let me just vent for a minute. But just think, I go, had that person directed that anger in a different area and sought help instead of going and committing that. So I just, I don't have a lot of sympathy at first.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for that at first because it is easy to go and to ask. It's the understanding part of it that, to forgive themselves.
Yeah.
Number one, before you went and committed that horrible thing. So, I understand where you're saying, where you come from that, and that's you're doing, on a much milder level than moving to that.
Yeah.
But it's just there's, I don't know. I definitely appreciate the fact in the world today that there seems to be a revival. And then you can see on the opposite side, there's also a big evil push against us.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
But
when you mention active shooters and you see stuff happening on the news, I never understood. It's like, I would imagine if anybody's going to do something like that, their goal is for maximum exposure. So when these news crews are covering these stories and they're putting this person's face all over the internet, all over the news, isn't that essentially doing the bidding of the person that is committing these? In the same sense, it's like I'll see people on the left or the right, they're sharing things on social media about, say, we'll use Trump as an example. Like they'll be sharing something of his that they find absurd, and I'm like, you're literally you're projecting Trump's voice and you're against him. You're sharing what he says, and it's just that's why I stay out of politics entirely. And and I do have my beliefs. I have different leanings and stuff. But it's like, what percentage of people don't fall in the polarized left and right? How many people fall somewhere in the middle?
Probably more than you think.
I'm willing to bet it's 90%.
And maybe they're scared to say it though. Because then they're going to be judged.
Well, the media likes to project that it's this or this. There's nothing in between.
Right.
I like you say, you're going to be judged I have to, as a former soldier, and then being a soldier, if there's anybody in the world or the United States that has a right to speak about the politics or has an opinion about it, it's the person that put their pen to the paper that said they're willing to die for your country no matter what.
Yeah.
And I will nicely debate any person any day over the fact of you can't. Yes, we do have a thing to say. We have the right to say it. If you fought for it, or even if you just served your time, knowing that phone call will come one day that you may have to go and lay your life down for the country. And unfortunately, a lot of young people have not been taught that enough. The schools have taken a lot of that away. They don't realize that there's a price to be paid for our freedom that we have, and we're getting pushed towards the brink of that again. Yeah, I see it today. We're pushed towards that brink today, and the young people are gonna have to realize, there's that they may have to step up. Yeah, there's old timers, but they won't take some of us back. Yeah, we'll still do our thing. Yeah. And my point being though, like my point of that was that yes, as a soldier, I have a right. I definitely have a big right to say how I feel about politics. I'm not gonna force it on somebody. But I'm not going to stand down when you ask my opinion. As you ask, I'm going to tell you. It's how it should be. So
yeah, but now like people can't have differences of opinions. Like it is one way or the other, and that is crazy to me. Like who cares? Like what?
How many people
Joe Schmo over there thinks about whatever?
People not talking to each other because of their differences of opinions and stuff. It's sad. It is, but I also believe it's working as intended. The
separation,
the division.
Yeah.
Well, they're not educated. They're not educated in what they need to know before they engage in that conversation. That's the other part of that. They're only going by what propaganda that they've either for a short minute saw online, or they're listening to a group who's chanting the same thing over and over again. Yeah. How's it? What is it? If you say a lie enough times, many other times, eventually becomes the truth. Some people that's propaganda. They believe it.
Right.
So that's where. Is to fall back again where your interfaith, that's where your faith comes from. You get that gut feeling where you go, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, but then it's also like people need to understand it's okay that you can change your mind too. And you don't have to stay in your thoughts or your ways because you're embarrassed because maybe you weren't wrong, but like it's okay to shift in other thoughts about whatever it is, even if it's political or not. You can change your mind. And I think people get scared to do that because they want to be right and they don't want to be like, oh shoot, good point.
I mean, let's look at people changing their mind. Let's not to bring this up I mean, I will bring it up. I don't think we have on a podcast, but like going through COVID, like
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
differences of opinions throughout that
Yeah.
fiasco. And we were one of those people, and there were a lot of people shitting on us where we didn't live any different throughout the entire thing. I worked for a
Yeah.
medical facility at the
Exactly.
time,
Mhm.
and
Good
Yeah.
for you.
We just,
yeah,
that's how we
And-
were.
So my undersheriff's, I'm going to say this. I'll tell you guys. So you talk about the COVID thing. So he's a serviceman to himself. We're sitting in the office, and one of our employees, a civilian employee, comes in and goes, "Hey, just so you know, the county manager sent out a thing that everybody can go home and work from home." I go, "Good for the rest of them." I go, "We're cops. We don't go home."
yeah, yeah.
Right?
And they were like, "Oh, okay, Sheriff. Well, what about us?" I go, "You're not in uniform. I understand that. If you want to go home, go ahead."
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the person walks out. I get up. I walk over to the undersheriff. I'm like, "Did you hear this crap?" He's
Yeah.
like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm just reading another email now." He goes, I go, "This is wrong." He's like, "Yeah." He goes,
Yeah.
I go, "Something isn't right." I go, "I am
Uh-huh.
not going to shut down a facility. I am not going to,
Right.
come on." I'm like,
Mhm.
right away, your inner gut feeling tells you horse crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When in the history of our country, now you go back when they had, was it France that had the pneumonic plague? Was it France that had that? Way back
I
in
know.
the
I know. It's
dark
somewhere
ages
in
we had?
Europe.
Well, I think it was, and they and people still were out and about, but they were and that was the first time that they used some coverings,
Mhm.
a neckerchief, not
Yeah.
covering all, but that's because they were the ones that were picking up the bodies or taking care of the people.
Yeah.
But to go ahead and mask a society,
Yeah.
right from that, like that, he said, just like you, from that day
Right.
forward, I
Yeah.
wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I wasn't
No.
I wasn't forcing anybody. I wasn't enforcing any of the so-called
Mm.
edicts coming down from the Queen or the King in Albany
Yeah.
there for a while. They wanted to
Mhm.
put that out.
Mhm.
And yeah, I faced some opposition.
Yeah.
I got booted out of a gas station. The best was one time somebody said, "I'm going to call the police," and of course I probably should have been a little more high school professional. I said, "Well, you go ahead and call them." I said, "I'm going to stand here and wait till they get here." "Oh, what are you going to do that for?" I said, "Well, because I'm already here." And the
They're
lady
like,
goes,
"What?"
"Yeah." She goes, "You're a cop?" I go, "Well, yes, I am." She goes, "And you're not going to wear the mask?" I go, "No, I'm not." She goes, "Well," I go, "Ma'am, you feel free to wear that. You wear that
Mhm.
because if you're wearing it, you're protected from me."
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Right.
gotta put yours
Exactly.
on too, because otherwise, no, I'm not afraid of you. You have your mask
Yeah.
on. I'm good. I'm all good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I got my drink and I told her, "Thank you very much." And she said, "Well, I'm not going to call the cops, but I think you really should put a mask on, Sheriff. I'd appreciate if you would." And I said, "Well, I appreciate the fact that, you have yours on and you're comfortable at this point, not calling the cops to come after me or anything."
Yeah.
Now, another time I'll tell you about the Kansas school district, what they did with me with my daughter down there. They did call the cops on me, knowing who I was, that I am a sheriff, that I was there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They called the cops with my daughter there and everything. That was pretty traumatic. But
Mm.
that person that did and the administration did is now gone from Camden. So, yep.
Okay.
I think people just brought no matter where you were, it was just went way too far.
Oh, they
and,
did.
But how do you even relate COVID or anything like that and wearing masks to a shortage on toilet paper or
Oh.
milk or I'm like, that doesn't even make sense.
It was
It's
the
so
biggest.
stupid.
Yeah. No, it was the biggest propaganda operation we've seen since the German since the Nazis, occupation
Yeah.
with Germany and Poland. It was the biggest propaganda
just
we've seen
makes
since then.
Humans look so
ridiculous.
dumb.
Yeah.
We're that I don't even know what the right word is.
Mm-hmm. I want to shift from that right out to something else that just when I heard about, I'm like, this can't be real. We had Senator Walczyk on our podcast.
He's a good man.
Last
He is. He's so
spring.
funny.
He is.
When I heard National Guard was in state prisons, I'm like, this can't be real.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, can you imagine going to basic training, getting out and be like, oh, my first duty station is Auburn. Like,
right.
I don't know. I mean, and it's scary, it's like genuinely scary. And I heard it's not good right now. It's still not any better. And
how long has it been? I feel like it's been forever.
It's over a year and a half already.
That's so
Easy
crazy.
year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
My niece was one of those National Guard people that went in, and she was in the facility. And when I heard some of the inside stuff from her, what was going on, and I go, well, that's true because I'm hearing it from the guards, and here my niece is telling me. And I made mention to a few of the politicians, and they were like, "Is it really?" I go, "Listen, you got to talk to these guards more,
Right?
and also talk to the service members that are there doing it."
Yeah.
Well, we're told that we really can't talk to them. Well, of course, being military, they're giving orders where you shouldn't sit and say anything to anybody, this and that. And it's ridiculous. It's costing us as taxpayers more to pay the guards and the National Guard than for her to settle. It's not a contract. It's for her to settle the Rule of the Halt Act.
Yeah.
But what are they doing? They're caving in again to the far left. They're caving into what they think is going to be the right thing. And no.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. I mean, if they could only break New York City off into its own section, I think,
Yeah.
imagine how much different the state would be run.
Yeah.
We can
Put
dream
it in its
big,
own little
but
bubble.
Yeah.
Huh.
So here I go jumping around again on you. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't, all right.
fine.
So you just
I like
talk
it.
about how the state cut half of it off. I remember when I ran for governor, I had people come to me and say, "Well, Sheriff, if we just cut off New York City, we'd be so much better." I go, I know, but we're still a state. We're still this one state
Yeah.
together. I couldn't jump on that platform yet, but I was like, I get it. I mean, I absolutely get it. I said, but my family came from down on Long Island and Yonkers, and we came, up to Kingston, and I'm the first one to go out to Western New York, and then to live in the North Country. So I've gotten a full round of what New York State is like. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to run for governor. Is like, if anybody has a feel for everything, I kind of know now. I've kind of gotten that, and with people from up here would say, just like you're saying, well, we should cut off New York City. And I'm going, yeah, but there's a lot of good people in New York City. A lot of good food down there, right?
Yeah.
I know.
There's a lot of good ethnic good things that we've all,
Yeah.
the Italian, the Chinese, the Polish cooking and stuff, things like that. And there's so much there. And there's a lot of good businesses that came from different people together.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, we can't cut them off. We got to find a way to work with them. Well, so you go through the campaign, you talk to different places, you get down to New York City, and as I say, you're one of their guys from down there originally, and some of the people just hated you.
Yeah.
And when you told them, they didn't want to believe you. No, you are not. You're a redneck from upstate. Blah blah blah. The whole bit. Like, people, stop. Would you stop? But there was a lot of good people down there too at the same time.
Yeah.
And could it? I mean, could it have been achieved? It could have been. But what it's going to take now is, and I hope nothing really tragic comes out of New York City.
Yeah.
But having this guy Mandemi, as they say down there, and I love Carl Higbee, by the way, my hero. So, they're going to find out now just how bad what they did to themselves.
Yeah.
That may be the turning point where they may finally go, wow. If they come out of it, I hope the next
It's like them
3
hitting rock
4
bottom.
years. Yes. I hope we don't see another 9/11 down there because of this guy.
Yeah.
I hope that we don't see an actual. Were you overseas?
No, I never did.
Okay. That's right. No, I didn't get to go overseas either, but I hope that they don't actually see what a true attack looks like on a civilian population from these people.
Yeah.
And I'll say it like these people like that,
Yeah.
The fanatic side of it.
Yeah.
The fanatic side,
Yep.
And if that happens here on this soil, that's going to be a loud and clear message. What you made a mistake, what you did. And that I think would bring, the state of New York together, let alone bring the country together.
Right.
But New York would learn the fastest because we are one of the first ones to actually have an elected, person of that faith.
Yeah.
Right.
And that belief, and especially that so extreme belief, And I got to go there because you brought it up. All these young people are going, well, look, the guy, he smiles, he's funny, he's this and that.
Yeah.
I go, so is the devil.
Yeah.
Persuading people.
True.
And I go, be careful.
Yeah.
And they're finding out. They're finding out. So right now, I think we should have, go off, let it float for a while, and then or blow the bridge and blow the bridge there for a while. Nobody goes in and out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, how have things been on the narcotic side? That I always try to touch upon this just because it's hit my life in many different dynamics. Many people I've loved and cared about, I've lost. At the top of my list, my sister in 2020, she had a long battle with opioids and she ended up passing away.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
And but that was not a sudden caught you out of nowhere type of thing. That was over years, and it's unfortunate because it's easy. I would say, we always talked, it's so easy to judge somebody and say, oh, well, they're a heroin addict, or they're a meth addict. But like, how easy is it to be caught up in that stuff to begin with?
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people on the outside that have never dealt with anything like that or did it themselves, they put people like that in a category of like they're not human. They're just a wasted space. It doesn't matter.
Or they're bad people or scummy or something like that.
Right, but that's someone's like mom or dad or brother or sister or whatever, and they're in a dark place and they need help. But people don't see it like that. They judge them like they're scumbags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are. I'm not saying they're all these good people that are just doing bad things. So like some of them are really, really bad people, but there's a lot of good people just making a really crappy choice and they need help.
Yeah. How has things transpired over the past couple of years, specifically with like opioids and meth?
For us, it's gotten. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but for us, it's gotten better.
Really?
We didn't have a narcotics task force when I was a deputy with the department, and then when I became sheriff, we didn't have one either. And then when in 16, 17, and 18, we started seeing, more of the overdose deaths. I'm going,
yeah,
it's Lewis County.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going, what is going on here? Why isn't anybody? You have a great big social services presence.
Yep.
You have all these not-for-profit. Why aren't we doing something?
Yeah.
And I said, and why aren't we as cops doing it? Well, we have a couple guys, and it was true. There was a couple of guys, and so I said, being a former city of Rochester police officer and working, I go, no, you gotta have a team. You can have good cops, but you need a team. You need guys that have been there, that made the arrests on the street and now transitioned over to the, to the UCs, to the warrants, the operations, things like that. And I went to the legislators and I said, I'm looking to get a few more officers. I want to move some guys into a narcotics task force.
Nice.
Well, do we really have that kind of a problem? That's what you first get. I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you guys are trying to ignore it, there's our problem right there.
Wow.
There's the start of it, okay?
Yeah.
Because one of the individuals that was on the legislative board, one of their family members was involved in the heavy. And we knew it.
Yeah.
And yet they, like you said, they ignore it, or they, they know it, but they just go along with it.
Yeah.
It's easier to do, just pretend you don't see it.
Yeah. So I walked out of that meeting, and of course I was a little PO'd, and I go, you know what? I go, all right, this is what I'm going to do. So I walked back into the office and I said to the sheriff, I said, we're going to start a narcotics task force. He said, great, Sheriff. What are we going to do? We only have so many people. I go, I know it. I said, volunteer, got to do it. But I said, there's 2 people. And at the time, I said to my undersheriff, who was the sergeant then, and the guy that is now my chief deputy was another sergeant. And I said, one of you is going to be head of the narcotics task force. Who wants it? And the one sergeant said, well, that's not my cup of tea, and I just think it would be a good idea. And the other guy goes, I'll do it. I said, okay, right now you're the head of the narcotics task force. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, okay.
Like, what do I do now?
Yeah, and he's done he's done some things on his own, and with the old partner that he had, did some of that, so that's why I did it. And he goes, well, what do you want me to do? I said, you grab, I don't care what deputy, what investigator, but you grab a handful of people and put them together. That's the next couple of days. So they went out and they started talking to some of the guys and some of this. And then I held a press conference at Stewart's in to the behest of my legislators. Yeah. I announced that we had a Lewis County Narcotics Drug Task Force.
Nice.
And I contacted the village PD. I had some of the village come over, and they all stood there. My district attorney, she backed me up at the time. She was great with it. Cool. And so that's how we bloomed into having this narcotics task force. Didn't have a thing started yet or anything, but the name Lewis County Narcotics just sounded wow. You know how that goes out to the public. And then to the bad guys, are like, all right, who snitched on us? What did you buy from lately?
Yeah.
And they took it around with it. I have to say, I told them, I would tell them some stories about when I was on in Rochester, but they took it upon themselves to put together a group of guys and to volunteer, go out and start doing it. They got their CIs, got their buys, and then we had some great busts. Yeah.
Nice.
And we had a trooper that was lent to us, investigator from the DA's office, and he helped us out with the task force. And then we took a lot of it down.
Yep.
When that person retired, the trooper did, and then my sergeant retired. He left. It was left to one investigator in our office, and he still kept it going. Yeah. Not as strong as it was to get going. Now it's picking up again a little bit again, but it's not so much as it was before with the heroin and everything.
Yeah.
We're catching. They're going back to the meth again, and cocaine's starting to pop up. Huh. Cocaine's coming back. So
interesting,
but it's going good.
Yeah.
Our overdose deaths dropped right down, which is great. Which which showed this the same way basically. And I like you said, I don't talk about politics too much, but the same way that President Trump said, look it, I want you to start hitting these boats that are carrying everything over here. We're sending cops, we're sending military personnel to do these drug raids, the feds, and it's good, but it's taxing on everybody's agency. There's a cost to it. Why don't we stop it before it gets here? Yeah. Hey, great idea, boss. I think that's great. Let's do that. Yeah. I think the best thing to do is start blowing those boats out of the water. Not only did it send a loud and clear message to the companies doing it, send a loud and clear message to the people here, as well, that we're not messing around.
We're not playing,
right? It's no longer just the cops that are doing it. You actually have your government saying, we're going to help you out. Yeah. Great move.
Heck yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Man. But I know you originally asked me, do you want to talk about the accident and everything?
Yeah.
And I like I said, remember I told you I'll never apologize, but I will. I'll say to you, I'm sorry I got away from that on you in the beginning.
Oh
you
no,
know?
you're good.
That's
man.
how our
You're
brains
good.
work all the
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
Don't apologize.
I'm a space
We're-
case. I'm 1,000 different directions
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
once.
it's just I start hearing it's like, where he goes, he's going over
It
here,
always
I go
leads
over here.
to, it's like, it's like a spider web.
But just to go back to that, because I know I didn't answer some of your questions. I'm not dwelling along with you. Yeah, it was an impact for me, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I would be a liar if I sat here and said, seen a lot of that, handled that, and everything else. No, it impacted me too. It
Yeah.
impacted me too. Hit my one deputy, my one investigator, my one sergeant pretty damn hard later on.
Yeah.
I went back and I kept on asking guys, you okay? You okay? Yeah. I go, no, you're not. I'm looking at you like, I know you're not.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I just found out from my daughter
Yeah.
that she knew these people. Knew them.
Yeah.
I go, and seeing my little daughter stab, I'm thinking to myself, what would I do?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's when my one deputy goes, well, that's just it, Sheriff. He goes, I was thinking about my wife and kid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He started to tear up.
Yeah.
It's okay. I should do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. We've all been there, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's
We've
where
all
it
been
comes
there.
in for us too. It's like, yes, this stuff happened to us, but we also worry about everyone else.
Yeah.
We worry about the officers and like all the, medics or whoever was there. We worry about everyone's mental state, because we know where we're at, but
man, there was so much that and it's weird. I don't want to use the word like, but I prefer to bring up to people what we have been through, just because I think it's important. I want people to know, but like, hey, like, so I run a lot. I've been running around Sylvan Beach.
I can tell you
a lot.
You tell I don't.
No,
try.
I've been doing this for about 1.5 years or so, and it was my antidepressant, because I am adamantly against pharmaceuticals. I'll throw that right out there. And or drinking, don't get me wrong, I like drinking beer a little bit here and there, but I'm not going to utilize something like that as a crutch. So I've started, pushing myself running. I do these 7.5, 8 mile runs a few times a week generally.
Nice.
I'll throw in like 300-400
machine.
push-ups throughout the mix of the run. I like to try to push myself, and I've never pushed myself my entire life. I decided to wait till I was 38 to actually try. And
good for you. That's
but like people see me out doing these runs in negative 10 degrees and stuff. I did 2 weekends ago when it's Saturday and Sunday. It was like, I don't know with the wind chill. I don't know how cold. It was cold.
like minus 30.
Yeah.
And
I have my phone ringer like on high just in case he needs me.
Yeah.
Were you masked there at all? Did you have anything to keep the cold air from?
I did. I did for those 2 runs when
Yes.
it was negative, because I was like, but it's crazy, man. I was warm, and I pulled the mask down to breathe a little bit. But
That's the common sense move there. That's common sense. You've got to keep that air warm coming in,
Man.
Yes.
So there's a reason to wear it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry to take that away.
No,
Sorry.
you're good. But and I think it's important. Like people, they know that my reaction to what we are navigating has been pushing harder, pushing through. Because I think Robert Frost quotes the best way through, or I'm going to slaughter this. Best way out is through, and rather than trying to avoid it. Yeah. And there is so much magic to that. And I'll tell you what, because there's a lot of people that you're freaking crazy. And I mean, I was running with my plate carrier on in 95, 105 degree weather with my, when it was too hot, too cold, I don't bring my dog, but I off leash run my border collie with me. Smartest freaking dog
She's
you'll
perfect.
ever see.
Yeah,
And she's incredible. Like she is, but it's like, no, I'm not nuts. I might be a little bit, but when I'm out there and I'm doing these hard things, man, it makes everything else in life easier, because I mean, it's painful. It's painfully hot. It's painfully cold. And I think when you choose to do hard things, it makes life better. And just like those days of extreme loss, whether it's, my children, not saying I don't always look at that as a glass half full type of thing. However, I appreciate every fucking day, excuse my language, more than I ever have. I appreciate her more, and like, and I don't give her enough credit. Like she is, like, I don't know. There's a lot of people. I don't know how you do it. I'll be like, God, her.
We're a good team. We support each other in everything, and we love each other so much, and we're there for each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool. It's good to hear. I mean, we probably can all look back somewhere through our ancestry. With our grandparents, our great aunts, and that. And one couple sticks out, and you go, that's us.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that's us.
Right.
You know, and then when you do that, you go, wow, maybe that's where we learned. You know, that's how we
Right.
figured things out. You know, there's always an example
Yes.
set forward for us like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
How
Good
long
for
you been
you.
with your wife?
It'll be 33 years.
Oh,
Coming up.
just about as long as
Awesome.
I've been
I love
alive.
it.
All right.
Yeah, 33
Yeah.
years. Yeah, and that's something I tell her all the time. You sure you want to renew this contract? And let me know. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and I hear that quote was another quote. You know, behind every strong man is a stronger woman.
That's right.
You know, and
George Washington stated that. You know.
yo, okay.
He was gone from his wife during the war. I want to say it could have been alone 7 years or 5 years, but he was gone the entire time for 5 years.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's why they said when he came home to Mrs. Washington, she was just there. So behind every strong man, or behind every good man is a better woman.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it said.
yeah.
And that's where that came from. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that,
Yeah.
man.
Which is
Wow.
something, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that before, though, like with people's reactions. There were people that were like, you know,
About your running and stuff.
yeah, like
You're
some-
doing too much. You need to slow down.
yeah,
you need to
you
relax
slow down,
sometimes.
and
It's
I'm
not
like,
good for
listen,
you. Like all
I
this stuff.
learned.
You'll slow when you're ready.
I'll
Yeah.
never tell anybody to slow down, because this is the one thing I'm like, man, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for how I'm navigating this. I'm proud of myself for getting up some days and going to
Yep.
work with how hard it is, you know.
Mhm.
And I always go back to it. There's moments that people have like those 3 weeks when my daughter was in the hospital, like, and people can't even begin to fathom what it was like to lose your son and your ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, then you got to take into consideration the loss that my 12-year-old had. You know, it's like, I lost a lot. He lost his mom, his brother, his sister, and his 3 dogs. Like, his other half of his life was deleted. Like, I have no excuse.
Right.
I better be strong as fuck, because I need to be the example for him more now than ever. And like, oh boy. And here we sit. You know, we started doing this like a few weeks ago. I said, I think we really need to start this podcast thing back up, because it's given us purpose.
Yeah, we
even
took
if
a long
nobody
break.
watches it, you know. And then I decide to harass
Yeah.
you again. I'm thinking, these guys are busy. I don't want to bug them. And I'm like,
funny.
he said he would though, so like, maybe I'll just harass him. And I'm
Yeah,
happy I
that's
did.
cool. You know,
Yeah.
when you did I say, you know, my wife looks at me. She goes, "You sure you really want to?" I go, are you really? What do you? Well, you know, I go, I know. I said, you know, my wife experienced, you know, 3 family members too. Not, you know, it was her mother and her one sister was literally, you know, like a month apart.
Wow.
And then her father died the following year.
That's
And currently, right now, she's got a sister with stage 4 cancer, another younger sister that's holding on. And so, you know, I said, how do you feel when people come up to you? And she goes, well, I tell them. I go, exactly. You have a conversation, right? She's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, sure. You know, I'll go down and talk. I said, you know, you know me. I said, she goes, oh, I know you. She goes, you're going to go off on a tangent this way and that way. And they're going to enjoy it. I'm like, oh, yeah. But the fact that we're here talking together is a great thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I will, you know, you hear some people say, oh, well, your pain's my pain. No, I don't know
Right.
that. I'm not going to play that. I won't say that. You know, I'm not going to use that. We were at a situation where the experience for each one was different.
Yeah.
And yet we were all at that situation at that time, and how it was handled by different people, what they went through. So, you know, I thank you for letting me come and talk to you, and to do this. And I know that that my guys that were there that went through what they went through too are happy to be able to, you know, to have us discuss it. You know, and say that. And the one deputy was glad you reached out. He said, you know, I was like, hey, what is that? I go, what does that teach you about police work? You know, a lot of good people.
Yeah.
Just when you think, I go, a lot of good people. I was like, yeah, I go, I don't know how he could do it. You know, I was like, hey, good for you though. I'm glad that was an exchange there.
Oh my gosh, and his empathy, just talking to him though, he doesn't know how much that healed me. You know, and I was hoping to reciprocate that, because I put myself in his shoes, and I'm like, me hearing from that person would help me out. You know, because I can't imagine. And I don't know if he told you, like, when I first started talking to him, I didn't know he was the one I was referring to. I'm like, there was one guy that just really looked.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, that was me. And I'm like, oh, and you know, and he explained to me why, and I was like, that makes complete sense why that really hit you. Like,
Well, it's like it puts a little tiny puzzle together. It doesn't fix the puzzle perfectly, but it kind of fills some holes maybe for you. Talking to people like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I like it. I'm weird. I like confronting those subjects that a lot of people don't like talking about, and I always have been. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
You have.
So you drove all the way here in this snowstorm.
Yeah.
We can have this conversation.
Listen.
See? You know, people don't
Hey,
realize
totally worth it.
Yeah.
It's
People
fine.
realize right
It's
now
fun.
outside there's almost maybe up to what 8 or 10 inches out there.
I bet
the
there's a
road
lot.
sucked until our highway guys just got out.
was
and did a
bad.
great job.
They're
wasn't it?
bad.
But here we are. And this is
Yeah.
what it's about, you know.
Well, we drove to Tennessee. I told to Nick Laver.
Yes,
That
Yeah,
was
that was
cool.
awful.
We drove with her
This-
Dodge
no,
Charger.
that's what- that
Cool,
was
you really
awful.
We did have all-wheel drive, but I didn't put her winter tires on because
Oh,
I'm
that
like,
was funny. I got to admit, Matt, that was pretty damn funny when you said that. I was like,
So
no way.
insane.
Like, this guy, he was a serviceman, wasn't prepared for that. Like,
I know. I don't think we even checked the weather. We just went for it.
Yep.
We were going like 2 miles an
That's
hour,
too
and all
good.
these
oh, we didn't
trucks
get
are
snow
like
for 2
jackknifed.
years.
yeah, there you
Right,
go.
actually, right.
There was like 37
Yeah.
tractor trailers off the road. There was snow
Oh, it
plows
was-
in the
isn't that
ditch,
nuts?
and
That's
here we
scary,
are
yeah.
driving with no. Like, I mean, that was wild.
I'm
Hey,
surprised we didn't get sucked in the.
oh,
But what
Yeah.
what a you know, interesting and great person to interview.
Oh
to-
my
to
gosh,
go
That
in
was
there and do
cool.
That, you know?
that was
It was worth it.
I'll never forget it. You know what?
Yeah.
I immediately think of every time I think about that interview. I remember during the interview, I tried calling my son Tyler, my late son, and because I was hoping he would answer. I was going to video chat him because I guess Nick was a big wrestling fan as well in high school. My son was a big wrestler in school. So, but and I wanted so badly because like. It's weird. Doing a podcast is weird. It's different than the regular person's path. And I know my kids were sick of hearing me talk about doing podcasting stuff. They were sick of us talking to people. And I just I'm like, man, this time my son's going to be proud of me. And like I was more looking forward to that with some of these people than anything. I just wanted them to be like, okay, that's undeniably cool at this
Like
point.
my parents are kind of cool, I guess.
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but we've done some cool things.
Yeah.
And he's a Navy SEAL, right?
No, he's Green Beret.
Green
Yeah.
Beret, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
We did record with Kevin Stark, actually, this Arate Path. That was Kevin Stark's, he's a retired SEAL, and he started the Arate Path. And I went on a 4-day getaway in this last beginning of, or end of March, early April. And honestly, a lot of the reason why I've been able to be, my mindset has been where it's at. I can also attribute to this, those 4 days. It was beautiful, man. And it wasn't just because it was Navy SEAL inspired. It wasn't like super physical. We did some hiking together and some Navy SEAL inspired workouts, but it was awesome. And the camaraderie and like it wasn't siloed to a religion. It was siloed to like a spiritual aspect in general. So it was really open, and it was just, everybody there was like law enforcement, first responder, or ex-military, and I was nervous going there. I'm like, there's like 4 Navy SEALs that are going to be there, and you got me. Somebody that's always suffered with insecurity. And then when I got there, I was like, that was, I'm no different than these people. I've always put people on pedestals, and I'm learning, I'm getting better at to take people off pedestals and be like, hey, maybe somebody tried harder than you, but
Or they're in
at
a
the end of the
different part
day,
of their journey.
yeah, or they're in a different part of the journey. But yeah, he's become a really good friend, and actually he's helped me out. He's helped me navigate this a lot. He's taken phone calls. He answered every time. I feel guilty calling him because he always answers.
That's good. Hey, you know what? That's the kind of person that
Yeah.
obviously that they are, and they want.
He wouldn't
that,
answer if he didn't want to.
Yeah,
it's good to hear you talk about this like on the podcast with they think us military members we're a bunch of Neanderthals,
Yeah.
Right.
right,
Right.
and then of course you hear the Green Beret, you think, oh well, those guys are like they're all killers, you
Yeah.
hear Navy SEAls like,
Yep.
oh yeah, they'll kill you quietly and this and that behind and then when you really get to, when you as a person you get to generally meet one of these guys, you're
Yeah.
like, wow, not like
Yeah.
that at all. I mean,
Right.
yes,
they could be.
when they have to quiet, but no,
Yeah.
and like you said, it's a mindset.
Yes.
And like, and it is a spiritual thing for some,
Yeah.
how the teamwork is and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to meet Jonathan Gilliam. If you ever heard of Jonathan Gilliam,
I haven't.
He'll see him sometimes on the news. But he had Sheep No More. He wrote a book.
Okay.
But he's a former Navy SEAL and a really good guy. And I met him when I was on the governor's campaign trail.
Okay.
And I got talking. We were at a rally up in Albany, and I'm up there, firing off the mouth about Cuomo and this and that. And I get all done, and I walk over and I see this guy's got some books on the table, and I like kind of military, but I wasn't really thinking that. And he goes, hey, he goes, Sheriff, I'd like to give you something. He goes, do you mind? I was like, no, sir, I certainly. And he signs the book, and he goes, I want you to have this book and read it.
Aw.
And of course, I'm like, oh, well, who are you? And all of a sudden, I hear, Navy SEAL. I'm like, oh, hey, yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're like, wow,
Yeah.
you need to see. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then, and from that though, talking with him, and we don't get to talk a whole lot like back then we did before.
Yeah.
But through the years, come Christmas time, come Thanksgiving, I'll shoot him a text or
Yeah.
a quick phone call, and he's still like, hey, and he calls you, hey, brother,
Yeah.
and you're
Love
like,
it.
it's just true, if something were to happen, you'd be there for each other,
Yeah.
regardless of what branch of the service that we're in.
Yeah.
Like he always stated, he goes, one team, one fight.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
true. And you talk about putting people, you said, up on a pedestal.
Yep.
As military guys, I was just an MP.
Yeah.
I was infantry as well. But you look at things, and you go, when especially as an MP, when I found out, like, let's say that the 82nd, 101st was out, you're like, oh, the bar's gonna get tore up tonight as an MP. And these are guys that were so we're gonna have to either knock some heads or lock some guys up, but we still are one team, we're still one team together. And but you're nervous about some of these guys because you knew the training they had was just a cut above what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And but in the end, like I said, it's one team, one fight. And I learned that from him, and it's so true.
Yeah.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we recorded with General Lucky. I talk about this, and it was a remote podcast, which I've stayed in contact with this man, and he was a 3-star general. He was actually the chief of staff of NORAD as well. When I was in the reserve component, he was the commanding general of the entire reserve component, and I remember seeing his picture on the wall in our duty station that we were assigned to, and when we were on that podcast, I was shitting my pants the whole time. I was so nervous. I'm like,
It probably was like the most awkward recording ever.
Oh man, and it was a good conversation. Good to listen to him. It was funny because he was sitting next to a hornet's nest that
He kept buzzing around.
Yeah, and but yeah, good guy. And he's been a great example of someone that I'm like, this guy. Every time I've texted him or messaged him, he's half the time he'll call me immediately, and I'm like. Mm-hmm. This guy's taking the time out of his day to, it's really, really cool. It's humbling, man. Yeah. It really is. And we have so many of those connections that are just like, I'm blessed with,
There you go.
Just so blessed.
Now, was there other family members in your family that were service also that made you?
I had an uncle that he was a mechanic. He retired out of the military. But aside from that, I don't think there has been anyone else, And I only went in because I was going through a divorce. I was 27, and I was like, well, I always wanted to join the military, but I didn't want to screw up my family. But now I'm going through a divorce. My family's screwed up, so I was like, might as well do it. I tried going active.
Let's go.
Okay.
Tried going active duty.
You were definitely older than when you did it.
Yeah.
I was just turning 18. Yeah. 18. I just turned 18 when I did it.
Yeah.
And it was 2 years active, 4 years reserve.
Okay.
And I wanted to go in the Marines because my uncle was a Marine Vietnam veteran. But my dad's retired Army.
Yep.
And I was school teacher stuff. And I went down to recruiting station, and I'm sitting there and popped in a Marine video. I'm like, yeah, look at this, I'm watching that and everything. I'll tell you how I got there, first of all. So the only reason why I went down to recruiting station is went to community college for a year. Mm-hmm. And I was very undisciplined. I was polite, but I was undisciplined. I was a smart ass and a wise guy. And my uncle was a Marine, Vietnam veteran. He was always my second, like almost like a second father to me. Mm-hmm. And you want to play this, you want to be that. He goes, why don't you go do the real thing? What are you doing? He said to me, what are you doing? And I was like, ooh, that hurt. Like I am a tough guy. No, you're not.
I am a tough guy.
Yeah, And so I'm playing football, going to community college, and I'm just screwing off.
Yeah.
And in come the final score, your grades and everything, and I'm going. Oh. My buddy next to me looks at me. I never forget. Carl goes, "What are you gonna do, Carp?" I go, "You know what?" I go, "I'm not too sure. Let me look at that again." Yep, that's not. Yeah, that ain't making a 2-0, is it? No. And he goes, your father's gonna be. I said, yeah, my father's gonna be tweaked. I go, you know what, Carl? Let's go down to the recruiting station and enlist. He goes, you out of your mind? I go, come on, I gotta take all the buddy system. Let's go. So both of us went down there, hopped in the car, drove down to the recruiting station. I'm listening to the Marines, watching the video, this and that. And I'll never forget this guy named John Ford. He was in the Army. He was the Army recruiter. Okay. He walks over, and I'm watching the thing, and I remember him going to me. He goes, hey, young man. He goes, what's your name? I pop up and I go, Mike Carpinelli. I go, sir. He goes, don't sir me. He goes, what's your name? Mike Carpinelli. He goes, I'm taking your guy. He goes, bring him over here. And I'm like, what? He goes, come with me. So I walk over to so I walk out of there, and I walk to the Army guy. He goes, your father's Bernard Carpinelli? Yes, sir, he is, yeah. Good. He goes, hey, you want to join the Army? He goes, here, sign this while we're talking. So I'm like, okay, so
really?
Like an idiot.
Oh, wow.
I signed the paper, okay?
Yep.
Wow.
Watch my buddy Carl. What's he doing? He's over there. Next thing you know, Carl leaves.
Oh.
He left. I'm the only guy sitting there,
Me?
So I signed a paper and we're talking. He goes, well, you're on the late entry program. He goes, you got a couple of months, you can talk to your buddy. I said, oh, okay, Mr. Ford, but go home and tell your father that I met you, right?
Yeah.
So I go home and tell my dad. I say, hey, I met Mr. Ford today. He goes, where?
Oh.
I go down to the recruiting station. You did what? My dad's a graduate from the Citadel, South Carolina military college, an officer, right? You did what?
Yeah.
I go, listen, he goes, you dummy, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what? He goes, oh, I'm proud. You know, you want to go to Harvard, go ahead.
Uh,
So the late entry program, right? You know where I'm going with this? Could have been like 4 days. I get a call from the recruiter. Hey, you're gonna report next week. You're heading off to
Yeah.
Alabama.
Oh,
People
wow.
told me. I remember piping off the mouth. I go, you people told me. It's not people, mister. He goes, it's sergeant. I go,
Yeah.
Sergeant Ford, you told me at that time. Nope, that was it. Go
They
on.
do that on purpose? Do they do that all the time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they
Definitely.
just
Oh,
start
yeah.
right then
Yep.
and there just to
Yep.
get
Yeah.
you.
But
Gotcha.
that's why I went there, because I had an uncle, I had a father, I had
Yeah.
3 great uncles that were in World War II, and I always heard the stories and things like that.
Yeah.
But when I heard those words, oh, you want to keep on playing tough guy? Or do you want to be? You know, you want to be
Yeah.
tough. That's it. I'm going. You know. Yeah.
I went in
And
with
that
a
was
buddy
it.
system in 2000, would have been 2006, 2007, give or take. I was going to enlist with one of my best friends, and I chickened out the night before MEPS. And to this day, I think he just, holds it against me. And I don't blame him, because we were going to do this together. But then I
Buddy
found out
system.
that, my daughter she was en route at that point in time. She was in my
Yep.
ex's belly at that. So
Wow.
it was like almost like a blessing in disguise.
Yep.
So
There you go. Good.
we, and I wanted to go infantry and go active duty. And so when I was 27, I tried enlisting. I went to the Marine Corps, wanted to go active duty. Like, you have too many dependents. Like, okay. Talked to the Army recruiter. You have too many dependents. I'm like, okay. So I talked to the reserve recruiter, and he's like, oh no, I can get you in.
Yep.
He's like, you want infantry? He's like, try combat engineering. It's pretty much infantry with explosions. Of course, he makes it sound way cooler.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then I get assigned to my unit. What do? We're counter mobility. We do C-wire emplacements,
Oh,
and
boy.
and a lot of work, a lot of
Yep.
lot of physical labor. But I don't know. I had a weird experience in the military where actually I enjoyed the 8 years I was in. I wanted to do 20. I was at the end of my 8-year contract, is middle of COVID, and my commander in my last unit, he's like, hey, you're either gonna have to get the vaccine or at the end of your contract, you have to get out. And I was like, and I was like, I was 50-50. I'm not sure if I wanted to reenlist anyway. I was kind of leaning towards it, but I'm like, I guess that's my decision maker, because I was working for a medical facility. I had COVID 3 times at this point. I'm like, I'm not touching, I just, it's a personal choice. I believe it should be. And I felt horrible because we had 2 other guys that were in the office with me. They were both like 17 and 18-year troopers, and they had way more time in than I did. They were close to retirement in the military, and so they got a waiver from the state police, but the unit was still mandating. I got out. I decided to not reenlist. I get out of the unit. I want to say it was a month later they lifted the mandate. I was
No kidding. See that?
like,
yeah.
Ugh,
but it was a
stupid.
blessing.
That's right. Like you say, things happen for a reason that maybe we don't know.
Right.
Later on, it happens.
Well,
But
that's when my
Yep.
adversity really started, with like the custody and all that stuff. So it was like I couldn't imagine throwing, drill weekends in.
Oh yeah.
It would have been a nightmare.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That would have sucked.
And but yeah, no, I hear most people I feel like that are in the military, they do nothing but talk shit about being in the military. In my
Make
experience.
fun of it. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not saying there weren't some things that happened that were absolute bullshit. However, I wouldn't trade those memories for the world.
Right.
Isn't
Isn't it true? Like, I remember both my uncle and my father telling me, you're going to go away, you're going to experience things that others will never experience in their lifetime.
Yeah.
You're going to become part of a brotherhood.
Yep.
That you'll understand years down the road. And I was like, okay, I'm listening to words of wisdom, and you're a young guy going, okay, yep, I hear you, Pop, I hear you, Uncle, this and that. And then all of a sudden you're out and you're doing those things, and now years down the road you're going, it's true.
Yeah.
I remember, because again, I fall back when I was running for governor. I get a call from a guy. Well, so I know he sent me an inbox on here, and it goes, he says, is this the same Mike Carpinelli from the Beast 4th Platoon in Alabama at Fort McClellan? And I go, 10-4. and he goes, and he takes me back. He goes, remember a guy named Chip Taylor? I'm like, holy mackerel! I said, I haven't heard from Chip in like 30 some years.
Oh my gosh!
And he happened to be at the time. He was in the commodities business in New York City.
Yep.
And I was looking for a way to get down to New York City. Well, he arranged for my first, like press conference meet with the people in New York City. And I remember, and he was tall, a big guy. And I pull up, and of course we're all a little bit older, but we still look the same. I'm like, Carp gave me a big hug, and I was like, man, I can't think of. He goes, hey, remember you kept on looking at me, and I kept on wondering, you always say, Carp, you gotta cover me here. I think this guy's big. What am I covering him for? He wasn't a mean bone in his body, but he was a big guy, but it was a mean bone in his body, and he would do it. And I was like, so whenever somebody wanted to push him, I'd step up and be like, And, the little Italian fire hydrant walk in and give somebody business and need business.
Don't mess with him.
And we were close,
Yeah.
and like I said, I hadn't heard from the guy not long, and
awesome.
we hooked up again from that. And now we all, back and forth on Facebook and the telephone. Like I'll be riding to work to the office, and all of a sudden, he'll call me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? He goes, I just started thinking about something with you again. He goes, I got laughing so hard. He goes, you always made me laugh. You made all of us laugh. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? When you're all said and done, you're glad you did it, no matter how bad things might have been in there, or some of the stupid stuff they made us do. You're like, why am I doing this? And in the end, you're like, yeah, that's why.
Definitely help contribute a little bit of perseverance of dealing with just shit that seemed pointless, but that's funny. I don't know. I wouldn't trade those memories to the world. I got a buddy of mine, actually. I just talked to him recently. Hepperly. He was in my unit and stuff, and he's gonna do a podcast with me. I believe he's he's a carpenter, and I want to get more like blue collars, regular Joes, and he went through a lot in his deployment. So I'm excited to talk about what he went through. And sometimes I say to people, like, people think PTSD. I'm like, I bet how much PTSD is caused by when a soldier leaves home and leaves their family at home, and what happens at home. How much does that mess up what happens to their mindset? Because I've heard some horror stories, man, of guys being on deployment and their significant others just doing whatever.
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around. Yeah.
You can't.
You never know.
You can't let. It's. I was General Colin Powell, and I've got the 14 things, like you can't let adversity affect your something. I forgot about what your attitude or something like that. But you fall back on that. Yeah, everybody can piss and moan about, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
But you know what? Stop it.
Right. You can't be the victim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Got to be tougher than that.
We had Bernard Toney Jr. He was Colin Powell's very good friend. Bernard Toney, we drove to DC, not last summer, but the last summer before, and we did a podcast with him. And he was President Trump and President Biden's medical officer at the White House. He's a U.S. diplomat now, and that was fun. We did a podcast in his living room, and
really cool guy. I love it.
Yeah, we drove down to DC for that. I'm like, it seems like an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yep, it was really cool.
Yeah. That was a great experience.
But I know you said, like, you don't talk politics, and I get that.
Oh no, you're fine.
No, I'll just show you if I find it. But anyhow, go ahead. So that's something you go down to see with
Bernard Toney,
and have that's something, He
had a hell of a story of grew up in like a hood, background in inner city, just very great example of somebody that didn't let their circumstances define who they're going to become.
There you go.
Absolutely. So true. Yep.
So many people.
Yep.
It's you're right. I mean, it's what you said. You can't let there's going to be a lot of negative things.
Yeah. And the quote right here that attributes just that says, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength," from Marcus Aurelius. And
yes, Maximus. Oh yeah, I love that. That was a great. I'll find it here as I'm talking to you. But as you say, when my littlest brother, when that happened, I had just getting ready to go into my last term here coming up that I had, and I thought, wow, what am I going to do? I don't have that buddy of mine to retire with that I was going to, and I'm just going to ride this one out and call it quits. And I remember saying that to myself, and I even went and told a couple of people that's probably my last one and everything else. And then I'm riding home from the office the one day, and you get like you think you hear something in your head or inside your body, and you're going, okay, wow, something just told and I thought to my and what basically told me was, hey, this is my little brother's telling me, listen, you idiot, doesn't mean just because I'm gone, I'm not gone.
Yeah.
And you love what you do, and that people love what you do, and you enjoy what you do. He goes, why are you not going to continue doing what you're doing? Yeah. And I thought to myself, oh boy, and I like say, you get through that struggle, and you go, you know what? Darn right. That's what they want you to do. So I'm just going to show this to you because this is the second time I was with him. All right, and the second time was even funnier because it was on a whim. And I didn't have the proper clothing or anything, to go. And one of my buddies, when I was down in Florida, goes, listen, I'll give you a shirt. He goes, I got, shorts. And I go, yeah, okay, but that's all I have. Don't worry about it. You're going to the golf course. I don't golf. Don't worry about it. Just get there. Just go. Get the phone call. Just go.
Yeah. Really? Yeah. Come on.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You'll have to
that'd
send
be
it to me. I'll
awesome.
clip it into this episode too.
So you're gonna
That's
so you
really,
laugh.
that's cool.
So so we go and I get to see him for a second time. This is a little more personal. This one was. So the first time was a campaign thing, but so the second time, and as I got to the club, the gentleman that was there with, he goes just relax. He goes, don't worry. I go, yeah, I know. He goes, you've done it. I go, yeah, I know. It's just not trying, So he goes, well, I introduced a couple of Secret Service guys because there's a lot of plain clothes and there'll be a couple of guys. He goes, you'll know they are. So I'm okay, He goes, don't be afraid to tell them, let them know you're in law enforcement, the sheriff. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I was like, So I get in there, and I'm going through the place and everything, and I had gone in with my shirt untucked because we came off of the cars, and I'm getting ready to head in towards the dining facility. And the Secret Service guy goes, I go, Sheriff, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, yes, sir, Mayor. No, yes, sir. What's the problem? He goes, hey, they require us to tuck our shirts in when we go in the dining hall. He goes, just so you know, they'll call you on that. It's just, I go, absolutely. He goes, you can go use the locker room again. I go, I can. He goes, yeah, go in the locker room. So I go in there and tuck my shirt and everything. I come out. Other Secret Service guy goes, you're busting his chops about tucking his shirt in. And he goes, no disrespect, Sheriff. He goes, the man's wearing Skechers. He goes, in the country club.
Oh, man.
Of course, those guys pay attention to that detail.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, that is something. He's looking at my, look at your body language, what you're wearing. He goes, never worried about me tucking my shirt in,
Yeah.
And that's the guy said, he's got Skechers on. He goes, go get him a pair of good shoes before he walks in there. Nobody said a thing about the shoes, So
That's funny.
That's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's neat when you get to meet people who we have either aspired to to listen to them or that you respect, and to have those things happen in your lifetime. You're like, again, you go, how come I got that?
Yeah.
Don't worry about how come you got it.
Yeah.
Take it and run with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Be thankful for it. Be thankful that you had that opportunity. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm learning really quick. The more times you knock, you're gonna have more doors open, obviously. And it's just funny because when we first started doing this, there was a lot of doors that didn't open, and now
it wasn't serious at all. We're like, let's just try this thing for us, and then it kind of
and it's funny.
got bigger and
your buddy from
Brock.
Yeah, Brock. What's the name of his podcast?
Oh, I always do this to my too.
Oh.
Better said and done, or something like that. Better. Oh my gosh, he's gonna kill me.
Yeah, I have to look this up just because now I have to do him a shout out because he was a great guy and great to talk to, and like I wanted to listen to that interview, just to get an idea of who you were because I only knew had short interactions with you.
I'm nobody but a troublemaker.
Yeah. Oh, it's right on.
I'm an old man now. I have to say.
No.
Brock Groggy.
Yeah, Brock's a good guy, and him and his buddy that did it together are good people.
Yes, I agree.
Good guys,
Easier said.
That's it.
Easier said podcast.
There you go. Yeah.
On Spotify, YouTube, and Apple as well. And
he was Mecklenburg PD.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation today, and it was funny. Him and I both talked about like when we first started doing. I look back at our early podcast and I cringe. It wasn't necessarily bad with just her and I, but I feel like when we had a guest, we were like,
yeah, but the audio and stuff, I'm just like,
oh yeah,
it was bad.
Brutal,
but it's cool to see the progress and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
You're building on things,
Right.
You're building.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nope, they can wait. Sorry.
And sometimes people talk about deleting their old podcast episodes or whatever, or changing them so they look better. But I like leaving it because then it shows you your growth.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of fun.
I got to tell you, the one that you sent me, you were sitting on the couch, obviously talking.
Yeah.
I started, I was watching that and I listened to it for a few minutes and it hit me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it just hit me. I was like, it's just something how they can. I said, wow, watching you talk about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to the whole thing, just so you know.
Aww.
It was enough that I got that far, and I said, yep, this is where I'm gonna stop. Because it's just,
Yeah.
But it was good. I'm saying it's just something to see how open, and the emotion there was. I mean, just it's like you said, genuine.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not patting you on the back.
Yeah.
It's just I was just like, wow, that's all.
I appreciate it, man. And I I hope that's the impression people are going to get. But the thing is also one of the toughest pills to swallow, and I've heard this a million times. Is you are not going to be for everybody, no matter how hard you try.
Oh yeah,
And
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Can't please everyone.
Of course, I want everyone to like me. Because I love people, and
Mm-hmm.
I love life,
and you want to. It's like we're doing this now, not just for like personal gain or our own personal therapeutic type of thing, but like we want to help others.
That's
And
good.
the more
Yeah.
authentic and real that we are, like the more connected people are going to feel like, okay, they're real people.
Yeah.
We're not these, not that famous people aren't real people, but when I feel like a lot of times when they're interviewed and stuff, it's so like choppy and like robotic almost. And it's not, it's the same answers all the time and
projecting an image that they want you to see rather than who they really are.
And no emotion.
Because, you look at society right now, it's like, where is this, like, I mean, I don't know how much you know about AI or how much you talk about AI and how it's affecting things in law enforcement, but with my job, it's affecting things quick.
Oh yeah,
quicker than anybody's ready for. But
yeah, it's funny how you say it because anybody back in my office will tell you, don't let the sheriff on the computer too long because you'll blow it up.
Yeah.
I'm one of those anomalies to the computer. I never, so no, I'm not really good with AI, but I have to learn it. I have to know some of it.
Yeah.
I only plan on being in this profession, this business one more time around.
Okay.
So I won't get too deep into it. But as an upcoming senior citizen, that if you're going to want to be out in the modern world, as they say, I'm going to have to learn some of it,
Right.
or I'm going to have to understand it.
At least
or
so
be
you don't
left
get,
behind almost, right?
at least so you don't get scammed if nothing else. Because it's getting to be a scary world when it comes to that stuff.
Well, I could tell people if I don't have cash, I'm not doing it. So
it's an easy way to avoid issues.
I want to see it before I buy it.
Right.
It's right here in the computer. No, you bring it to my house. You show it to me.
Yeah.
I'll buy it from you. Or I'll come down to the
you
store.
come to me.
That's
Nah,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep.
Man, no, I really appreciate this opportunity, man. This is good. We'll have to do
Yeah.
another one at some point, and like I said, we're mobile, so we can
Go anywhere. Or outside, like around a fire or something. I think these are pretty good with like the wind and stuff, right? Don't you put like wind things on and stuff?
Wicked noise canceling.
Oh,
technology.
Thank you guys for making the trip. I mean, it's some bad weather tonight again, and I was like, I was waiting for you to call and honestly say, hey, why don't we do it another time? Well, I mean, I wasn't.
When you called me, I thought this was going to say, I'm like, shit.
I know, I thought
we
we're already like about halfway to my parents' house. It wouldn't have been a big deal. I wouldn't have blamed you.
Yeah, it would have been fine.
I'll drive it.
Well, unlike you, as you say, I've worked in this atmosphere now for quite a long time. I moved up here because of this atmosphere. So it doesn't bother me, What bothers me when I leave here tonight and I have to go home and clear it out my driveway. That's why I'm like, oh, not again. But this stuff driving that, to do something that's to get together with some great people and discuss a tough situation and for you to be that open with me about it. Thank you and letting me and sharing that with me. It's you're feeling both your feelings of that and allowing me to be able to be candid. That. I'll fall back to that again. People think, we put a uniform on and a bulletproof vest. You're a tough guy.
You're a robot.
I've said it to the public before, and I'll say it again. Don't forget they're your neighbors.
Yeah.
They're your friends in church.
Yeah.
They're the people out there on a baseball field. They're human beings.
Yep.
They're human beings, and the same thing with soldiers.
Yep.
We're trained, and yes, we do things that other people wouldn't do. But we're still human beings.
Absolutely, man.
Don't think any different. We appreciate the respect when it should be given.
Yeah.
And when it's earned.
Yep.
And when it's earned, that's the biggest thing. But hey, we're still human beings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Well, this is awesome,
Thanks
man.
For this.
This
is
fun. It's a blessing. So,
yeah.
I'll kill the recording and get this out.
Well, let me know how you make out. Also, now my phone's blowing up over here, so I'm